Okay, I need Natalie Dolbin. Come on down. Is Ryan Durant here? Ryan, come on down. John Gaskell? Where's John? Is he here? Okay, it's okay. We got Paige, we've got Mitchell. Where's Mitchell? Come on down. Michael, come on down. Where's Matt Sanchez? Come on down. David Schmidt, are you here? Yeah, okay, come on down. These first two rows would be great. Douglas Stanley, come on down. And Haley is here. Okay, so we're just missing John. Okay, if any of you see John come in, tell him to come down to the front. All right. You knew, right?
Huh?
You knew, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, well, this is the last class for the semester. I know you're really going to miss this, but it is nice to have something checked off your list as being done. Of course, it's not really done unless you've done your assignments. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, we're going to have Michael Call give us an opening prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day and for this school that we have to attend. And we pray at this time that we can learn and prepare ourselves for the future and learn to be an example for other people in our future careers. Thank you for the Savior and for Tina and everything she teaches us. In this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
All right. So John would like to make an announcement.
Okay, I'm probably your favorite TA ever. I'm actually just kidding on that. So I just wanted to, everyone that has been emailing me about assignment 4 and 5 and frantically telling me that you haven't been able to talk to your mentor yet, email me and we will work around that. We understand that a lot of mentors are very busy, especially in February and in January. So if you haven't been able to contact your mentor and you've tried, email me, we'll work around it because about more than half the class is set to fail the class right now. So I don't really want to fail you. So let's go ahead and work on this together. Email me and we will figure things out. All right, thanks. And email fin321@byu.edu. This is the last time I'm going to say it. If you email me on my personal one, I'm just not going to answer it. So, all right, thanks.
Okay, so this is where we are at right now as a junior class. So 37% of you have juniors, or at least have recorded that as of the last pulse survey. So we are going to do another pulse survey today. I've been getting texts and phone calls saying I got the offer, I'm doing great, it's wonderful. But we don't really know all of what's going on with all of you. And we start getting really worried, and we're gonna start probably, well, we're always praying for you, but even that much more, because so many of you, it appears, do not have offers yet. And we want to do everything we can to help you. Kim and I have a lot of contacts, but you have to show forth the desire and the effort as well too. So anyway, it is curious to see it says 24% of juniors have offers and do not plan to accept any of the ones that they have. That's a lot of you. we're going to probably do a little more research on that to understand why so many of you are interviewing for companies that then you say you don't want to take. We totally get it if you have another offer that you feel is better, but if you've actually sought out a company and done your research and then interviewed with them and got to the point where you got an offer and then didn't accept it, we'd love to understand why. Because usually what happens, what recruiters are telling me, is that when a BYU student does not take an offer, they don't come back and ask another BYU student to take that slot. They've already pretty much told the other students that they don't have a shot, and so then they just go to other universities. So actually, your fellow students are not having an opportunity to have those slots when you've interviewed for something and just, you know, it's one thing when you have another offer, we get that. But if you don't have another offer, we just want to better understand why. So I'd love for you guys to reach out to me, explain it. If not, we'll probably be reaching out to you. This is a list of companies that where your fellow students are going. You know, and a lot of them are these sort of one-off situations, and it's usually because someone at that place, you know, that company is a BYU grad, and they really want to get more BYU grads there and that kind of thing. So you guys will be the ones that will be doing this in the future for the ones that come after you. So we're pretty excited about that, but you can tell it's a lot of work for these recruiters to come and get just one or two, but that's what they're doing. Now Goldman, you know, they've taken a whole group of you, which is great, and they have said that we are their number one, we're the school that they take more students from in the entire world. So that's exciting. Okay, so all of those of you, we're going to take 2 minutes right now. Any of you who have not yet recorded to us that you've accepted an offer, so some of you have indicated that yes, you got an offer, but you haven't accepted it yet, we don't count that. So if you've gotten an offer and you've accepted it, then please let us know. If you have gotten an offer since the last time you did the survey and have not accepted it yet, then you're still considered as not having gotten an offer. But if you have gotten an offer, plan to accept it, but just haven't yet, we need to know that as well. If you have not yet accepted an offer or gotten any offers, we really need to know that. We really, if you knew how much we care about you, genuinely do want to help you. There are so many good companies that want students just like you, and we really want to help you get there. So let us know what's going on. Let us help you. I mean, I've had students in my office, we just right there together go searching. I'm making contacts. I'm emailing Celeste Seifert at Microsoft. I'm emailing everyone I know. And Kim is doing the same thing. And he's going to actually show you a slide where he has taken this program from where years ago we were maybe putting 3 on Wall Street and now a whole lot more. And that is a reflection of obviously Kim's effort, but of the students' effort. And he's going to talk to you a little bit more about that. But I think as a team, we can make this happen for you guys, and we really want to. Okay, is everyone done with the survey that needed to complete it? Does anyone need more time? Okay. All right. John, where did you put Kim's again? Okay, perfect. Okay, then now this is going to be fun. Okay, now we've kind of told you all of our headaches, but now we want to have some fun and sort of celebrate what's happened this past semester. So we appreciate all of those of you who got your assignments in on time. John spent a lot of hours reviewing every single one with the assignment to choose the ones that he felt were the best. And then Kim and I spent a long time going through all of the ones that were kind of even kind of in the ballpark of the assignment, and went ahead and and then selected the top 10. And we actually, well, I'll tell you at the end kind of how exciting this really got, because we were able to actually, we're going to have a special dinner for 4 of them. But anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start with Natalie. So come on up.
Hey everybody, I don't know what I did to have to go first, but apparently I do. So obviously I'm Natalie, my name's up there. So this is just a little bit about me. I'm an INFJ, so a little bit introverted. I'm enterprising, social, and investigative. Things I value are relationships and support. And the weaknesses that came up the strongest were lack of self-esteem and an unwillingness to compete. So you don't have to worry about me trying to compete with you to get the higher grade in the class. I'll just let you win. So as far as my career plan goes, upon graduation, I would like to go to Intel. That is where I will be doing my internship this summer, and I would like to be able to go back there. So I'll want to be working on my finance skills there. And then 2 to 3 years out, I plan to still be there and moving up kind of along that chain and continuing to work with them. 5 to 7 years out, I actually probably want to take a little bit of a step back from my career, maybe work part-time or from home and spend a little bit more time with my family. So 10 years out, possibly still be spending time with my family, possibly go back to the business world, and then 20 years out is the most interesting part of my career plan. I want to kind of take a step back from the corporate life and the corporate world and finance, which I absolutely love. But at that point, go to pursuing my dreams instead of working somewhere between 20 and 30 years out. And my dream is to open an orphanage in the U.S. for kids that have been abused in the foster system. So that's my 20 years out dream. So there you have my career plan. And then the last slide I have is all about advice from my mentor, and I want to focus a little bit more on this one. So I was talking to him, and he works at Intel, and he had a kind of a different start than most of us did. He majored in math and then came back and got his MBA. So his biggest piece of advice was kind of do for me what I'm doing, but he didn't do, is start big and ramp up your career. Just make a difference at the company that you're at. Pursue kind of that corporate life if you want it right from the beginning instead of having to go back for it. And then, especially while you're doing that, make friends all the way up the ladder. Especially as an intern, they like you. They like just having you there, apparently. At least that's what he says. And they're all willing to be friends with you because they think they can take you under their wing and stuff like that. So just make friends with everybody. But be assertive. Don't just take whatever you're given. You know, fight for the projects that you actually want to be involved in, so that you can make that difference right at the beginning of your career. And then the last piece of advice that he gave me that was really big was just pray about it. Let the Holy Spirit guide. I know most of us in here are Mormon. Not all of us, but that was his last piece of advice for me. So that's a little bit about me, and that is my career plan.
And as your fellow students are sharing, what I'd like you to be thinking about is, okay, is there anything in their plan that makes sense for me as well, that maybe you hadn't considered? And is there any advice from their mentor that actually would be something that might be important for me to adopt? Okay?
My number one goal in my career is still make it to the NBA. I'm hoping to play for the Los Angeles Lakers soon enough. But if that doesn't work out, I'm going to be going to Intuit, start right here, this summer, working for a few years there, maybe try and get my MBA, and after Intuit. And I'm a person who likes to work with people. I consider myself a leader. I like working with people, learning from them, using their strengths to make the team better. And my favorite advice from my mentor was seek ye first the kingdom of God, because that's the most important thing, making sure that we're good with God, that we understand what's most important, And that is my career plan.
Your plan. John.
So this is being, what exactly am I supposed to do? Okay, I can do that. So my name is John Gaskill. I walked in a little bit late, so I missed the announcement, and I feel a little bit underdressed, but once you see my slides, it'll kind of make sense because I'm actually trying to go with Nike, and this is business casual for Nike, so I kind of fit in a little bit. So my career plan has one of two routes. My extended family here in Utah is in commercial real estate development. I've been doing that with them since I came back from my mission about a year ago. But what I really want to do is I want to go work for Nike. It was kind of interesting. At the beginning of this year, we were doing one of the finance projects for either 401 or 410, and Tina walked by and talked to myself, Dallin, and Taylor, and kind of inspired us. And I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe I want to go to a big bank, even though that wasn't me, and she kind of helped me realize what I really loved, and I said, you know, for the longest time I've wanted to go work for Nike, so I might as well pursue that and look into that. And researching a little bit from what I've talked to with BYU graduates who are currently there, it's really hard to get an internship your junior year because they look for people in Oregon and Washington. But I'm a little bit stubborn and determined, and so I'm doing everything I can to get into Nike, and hopefully I can get an internship this summer there and work for Nike. If not, I'll try again next year and have a lot better luck with a full-time job. But I also really enjoy real estate, and so there's the commercial real estate route for me. And then ultimately, I'd love to be in management because I really enjoy making big decisions for companies. And right now, my uncle is the CEO of the real estate company I'm working with, and so I get to learn a lot from him while I'm here. My mentor gave me a lot of really good advice. And the first one on the top of my list sticks out to me a lot. He says, do what you love and love what you do. I think that's the most important thing, and it's kind of the key piece of advice that'll guide us in our careers to help us not only do something that's going to provide for our families and have a steady income, but we're going to enjoy doing it and it's become part of who we are. Another piece of advice I really like is kind of in the middle of this screen. It says, try to be the dumbest person in the room, aka surround yourself with smarter people and learn something from each person you meet. In this program, I feel like I'm accomplishing that because being in class with each one of you, I kind of feel like one of the dumber people in the room. But it helps me learn a lot, and so I'm really grateful for that experience because I feel like I have a huge learning curve to be able to learn from the people that truly know more than me. Another really important thing that he talked a lot to me about is involving the gospel in places where I work. I love my mission, as I'm sure many of you who serve missions do, and I want to be able to continue missionary work throughout my life, and there's a lot of opportunities to share the gospel, and it's not supposed to be work and then family gospel home on a different plane, but we're supposed to be the same person in all situations that we find ourselves, so we can find ways to let the Spirit guide us in decisions, important decisions we make about where we work and in decisions we make at the workplace, and we'll have plenty of opportunities to let our light shine to those that we work with and really make an impact on the places where we work and the people that we work with. And my mentor told me this. He works at Walmart, and Walmart's not my number one goal, but he told me to never give up on what you're trying to do. And I know that each one of us in this room, if we have a goal that we're working towards, no matter how small the prospects may seem, of getting that internship or getting that job or finding that little window to do what we love, but if we go forward with faith and do our best and study and apply and assert ourselves, that we'll be able to do what we love and enjoy it.
Thank you.
I can't really reach because I'm short, so I'll just talk really loud. My name is Paige Hickson, as it says. And so for my career plan, my thought is after graduation, I'd like to work for a tech company. Really, I am from California, so anywhere on the West Coast other than Utah, I really want to get out of Utah. So the goal would be Washington or California or maybe even Oregon. And then after a few years, I would like to take some time off to focus on raising a family and becoming a mom. And so just getting my family started. And then after that, I think I'd like to go back and work just part-time. So spend some time, with my family, raising my family, and then spend some time also working so that I can stay in the business world and keep on learning new skills. And I think it'd be cool to work for a smaller company, wherever I end up, to work for maybe a local company. I just think that'd be an interesting a different perspective, to have different perspective. And then 10 years down the road, I think it'd be cool to either continue working part-time with the company I'm with, or one of the things that I have thought of that I would really like to do is to work on creating financial literacy within the community, because I think that there's a lot of people that don't really understand basic financial concepts, and if they only could understand them and grasp those ideas a little better, they would be able to really improve their lives. So I think that would be something that would be cool to get involved in, whether I volunteer more my time or whether I make that a part-time job in addition to my other part-time job working with the company. And then 15 years, I have no idea. When I talked to my mentor and I told him about this assignment and I told him how we had to have the different years, and he kind of laughed when I told him that I needed a 15-year plan, and he said, that's kind of ridiculous because you don't know where you're going to be. So I figured I was justified in saying I had no idea. But I do have an ultimate goal. That is the beach as my backyard. So we'll see how long it takes to get there, but we can at least have that vision in my mind. So some good advice that my mentor gave me. He kind of talked about how he started in construction management and he ended up in finance. And so he just kind of talked about not being afraid to try new things, to start out in finance, or maybe if I find something I like better, to go off in a different direction. And he talked a lot about networking and how important it is when we're in college and also when we're in the business world, and just how important relationships are, and making sure that you network and build those important relationships. And I asked him how his education helped him, and in essence he kind of said it didn't, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's really cool, that's helpful. But then he said, well, the biggest thing that school does for you is it helps you to know what to think about and how to think and how to solve problems. So I thought that was good advice. And then he also talked about taking different classes and what's required, because especially as business students, we tend to just focus on the classes that we need. But he said it was also important to try new classes just because we find them interesting. And then the last piece of advice that I really liked is I asked him a lot about balancing work and family and church and all that stuff. And he said there's no such thing as work-life balance, there's just life. And so he kind of talked about how people tend to compartmentalize their lives of, this is my work time, this is my family time, this is church time. And he said that when you stop compartmentalizing it and really just think of it as the whole picture, then it becomes a lot simpler. So, yeah, that's my plan.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Mitchell Jurgens, and this is my career plan. So on talking to my mentor, the biggest question I had was, what should I be doing right now? And this is kind of the advice that he gave me. So the first thing is always continue to strengthen your resume. So number one, solidify an internship, and then also take opportunities to get involved with other internships and do your best there. And then also take leadership positions, work on getting into clubs or activities where you can be a leader and work on leadership skills. The next one is continue to network, and you really hit home on this one. The first 3 bullet points here kind of talk about how you can expand your social skills. and the social aspect of networking. So never turning down an offer to meet with or interview with a company. Always going to events, career events, to talk with people. And we need to always be exploring that social aspect of networking. But number two, in the last bullet point, he really expanded upon this one, is get the best technical base that you can. He really explained how this was so important because, social skills can only take you so far, and what you really need is, be able to back that up somehow, and getting the best technical base is the way to do that. He mentioned with more knowledge, with more skills, the more you can do. And the more opportunities will be presented to you. So that's a little bit of advice from my mentor. The next two slides are results for my personality tests. Kind of talks about, I guess, what careers would fit me best. I don't need to go over those. But here's some of my interest drivers and motivators. And so upon reviewing these two slides and reviewing the results of my personality tests, I was able to kind of, I guess, pick a career path. I think it was Paige. She mentioned that 15 years down the road, she didn't really know, she had no idea what she wanted to do. Well, I kind of feel like that right now, and I think a lot of us do. But this is kind of a rough plan of what I would like to do. Upon graduation, be an analyst at a venture capital or private equity firm. 3 years after graduation, be in the associate position. 5 to 7 years after graduation, be an executive assistant. 10 years after graduation, a managing director, and 15 plus years after graduation, a CEO, CFO, or even a partner. My dad has always taught me also to shoot for the stars, so why not? And then so the last little thing I have here is how to get there. And then right now what we can be doing is, studying hard in school, getting the best education that we possibly can. As an intern, just work smart and efficiently. Always be an asset to a company. And the last thing is what I kind of expanded upon in my first slide is continuing to network. The more people we know, the more people we can talk to and connect with will present opportunities in itself. That's a little bit about my plan. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so my mentor was my uncle, Mark Nugent. He works right now at Cummins. He was the director of mergers and acquisitions and of their commodity risk, and so he was in charge of all the derivatives that we have so much fun studying this semester. I was able to get a lot of really good advice from him. I first kind of started off asking about his career navigation because he's worked in lots of different roles in different companies, and he said that the big kind of driving factor was that he was able to continuously learn about his strengths and develop those, and he was able to leverage them by placing himself in positions where he could take advantage of opportunities to showcase those skills to others. And as he did that, different positions came up to him and different opportunities, which allowed him to be more flexible with his career and take on just different things that he really loves. He also told me it's impossible to do everything on your own, and that every position he had was because someone else gave him that position, so to really work with others and network. Next, I had a lot of questions about just business school. He did his MBA here at BYU, and he said if he could do things differently, he would have probably chosen a different school to do it at just because of the network that you develop. And so the advice that he gave was to pick an industry that you want to work in, and then find a school where a lot of the students want to go into that industry, and then use that as a basis to pick grad school. And then at the very end of our conversation, he gave me some early career advice, and he's a really strong advocate about working in developing countries so you can really grow in your career a lot faster and to get larger responsibilities. He's from Jamaica, which is a developing country, and so I think that's part of the reason why he's a big advocate for that. And then he also said when you do that for a couple of years, you can come back to the States and get into some top business schools and really great positions of responsibility in the U.S. He also gave me some good interviewing tips. These are things that we're all familiar with, but just to really develop power stories and practice those with others, and really show your capabilities to the people interviewing you. And then this is finally my career plan. I'm an ENTP. I love solving problems, and I want my career to be dynamic, always changing. I get bored pretty easily, and so I like to work in a corporate finance position, probably in the tech industry, so I put Apple down, but I'm not quite certain with that yet. And then after that, I think it'd be awesome to go to business school and then work in consulting and private equity. So.
Okay, obviously I didn't listen to point 83 on this handout we got today. It said dress appropriately. Actually, it was just a misunderstanding, miscommunication, but I'll go through my PowerPoints, some advice and career plan that I got. Most of it was focused on just advice during these early stages of our career, and I think first impressions are very important. So throughout this, I'll be giving kind of an order of what I think are the most important things that you should have done first, and some of the things my mentor mentioned as having these things nailed down solid before we really start going out and managing our careers. As part of our resume, these points, mainly you want to check for consistency, make sure there aren't any small errors. You want to stick to fonts that are readable and avoid colors that distract the reader. You know, really basic, simple things that that people actually notice, because before they even get a chance to look through what they're reading about you, they're going to definitely see typos, they're going to see color, they're going to see all sorts of things like that. And as soon as they see anything that isn't appealing, you know, they're going to discount a lot of everything and a lot of good stuff that you have on there. So my mentor wrote a lot about that, and especially everything that you do put in the content. I know I have here as an example, under your hobbies, if you say you read the Wall Street Journal, then you better be prepared to talk about at least 2 or 3 article stories that are current to show them that you do those hobbies, because he said he was really surprised at how many kids would write stuff down because they knew it's what they wanted them to read, but when it came down to it, they couldn't really answer any of the questions that were given unto them. So that's a really important aspect of your resume, so just make sure these things are really polished. After that, I call it a profile resume. This is kind of in relation to your Twitter accounts, your Facebook accounts, your LinkedIn accounts. Obviously, our LinkedIn is our primary factor since we are, you know, business professionals, and that's the first source that most of our colleagues are looking towards. But Facebook and Twitter are also things that people can easily find by searching your name on Google. So, you know, just some basic tips said make sure that your profile pictures are available to the public. I didn't even know that was an option on my LinkedIn account until he told me, since he looked me up and he's like, you have a question mark for your face. I'm like, what, I have a picture? But there's actually a setting just for your profile picture. So simple things like that, and it'll help increase your visibility. I had a few examples of some pictures, but you want to make sure that your Facebook and Twitter pictures are also appropriate, because people are still people, and although they'll act professional when they're in their office, they will Facebook stalk you, and they'll look on things to see what you post about, what your interests are. And so I feel like a lot of kids our age think that Facebook is kind of a safe haven for just whatever their opinions are, and they'll say this or that and repost things that aren't appropriate. And those are really big red flags, because it kind of gives an indication of your character and the type of person you are. So just be really careful about what you post on the internet. If you do have some opinions, you know, sometimes it's best to keep those to yourself so you know you don't offend anybody. So that's the second most important step. As part of your etiquette, it's easy to tell, he said, when students are very arrogant. They think that they're very smart coming out of college. Maybe they were in the top of their class. But the best advice, he said, was just try not to find stories that display, you know, how awesome you are and how great you are, but come off as just a student trying to learn, trying to be approachable. Where most of us are getting positions where we're just lowly interns, and the biggest trait that they like to see is that we're there to learn, and that we're excited to be there, and we're just ready to dive into the industry. You know, I know it's typical for most people to put down, you know, this is what I bring to the firm, and these are my best traits, and I think I'll contribute this by doing this, this, and this. Those things are all great, but considering most of us are, you know, in our early 20s, and most of our jobs beforehand have been pretty simple jobs, you know, delivering newspapers and simple things like that, you know, I don't feel like we have as much of a footing to say those types of things yet.
and they need to see that we're willing to learn and engage ourselves in their business. Lastly, for interviews, doing your homework. I put that bullet twice because he said it more than once. Go into their financial statements. Go into all sorts of information that you can get on them. Research the people. I mean, if they're going to be face stalking you, you can Facebook stalk them. I mean, it's all fair game. And if you can bring out points about what you've learned about them, that comes across as really impressive. I know recently I did the same thing. I Facebook stalked a lady that was interviewing me, and she had gone to Ecuador, which for most of us being returned missionaries is a really important point. And bringing that up, she's like, oh my gosh, I traveled for me going and getting my education in Ecuador. I'm like, yeah, I saw that you went there. It got me really excited because I went to Nicaragua and we're practically neighbors at that point. And I mean, that's a good 5 to 10 minute conversation just right there in the interview, and shows that you're willing to step outside of what is required and to look past those things. So, I mean, be prepared to answer questions, have them for your interviewer. I wanted to emphasize right here, don't ask negative angled questions. I know it's really tempting because we do our research and sometimes we don't think through our questions, but an example, PIMCO just lost Bill Gross. I mean, it wouldn't be a great idea to go on just like, how have you handled losing all this money because Bill Gross decided to go to Janus Capital Group right now? Maybe not sounds like a negative question, but it all of a sudden turns into kind of a story, and they have to feel like they're defending where they're working, and that's going to set a really negative tone. So just briefly, my career plan, I just wanted to follow these important skills, graduate. I'm looking to try and go with Duff & Phelps right now as an intern. I'd like to potentially work with them throughout for the next 5 to 10 years. 15 years plus, it's always difficult, but it is a goal of mine to continue my education. I'd like to see if I can get a couple of bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. I just think that education is really important, and you can never get hurt by getting too much. So, and I guess just as I put this as a last thing, although we are very qualified here in the Marriott School and we have an excellent program and we have excellent people that give us great advice, I know there'll be times where we still won't be the chosen ones. We won't get those jobs. We may even have times where we won't have the best careers, but we need to have a backup plan in that case, and we need to be willing to work and be flexible. So that's my career plan. Thank you.
All right. I do not have a personal interest page or things talking about me, but one of my interests is free dinners, and so I don't know if you've already chosen who won, but also didn't put it on my career plan, but it's on my career plan in detail, dinner with Kim Smith and Tina Ashby. So I would love that. I'm just kidding. Upon graduation, I currently have an offer to work with Apple, which is going to be incredible. I'm very excited about that, and that's going to be this summer. So I'd love to obtain a full-time offer from Apple. A few years after graduation, obviously my career plan is probably like the loftiest goals I could reach for myself. I would love to go to a top-tier graduate school within 5 years of graduating from BYU sometime. 5 to 7 years later, gain a broader understanding of industries by working with the big 3 consulting firms. I honestly put that up there just because as of right now, I really don't know what really interests me. I love finance, and I love the idea of working with a tech company, being at Apple. And maybe I love it and I stay there, but I really don't know what niche I'm looking for yet, and I feel like consulting gives you a very broad understanding of industries and corporations, so that's why I have that up there. And then obviously the big 3 are Bain, BCG, or McKinsey. Career plan continued here 10 years later. Pursue the area that I found most interesting from consulting, again, just leveraging those relationships and the people that I've met. I feel like it'd be a great opportunity to meet others and to branch out into a different industry. And at this point, I think private equity is really intriguing, and I'd love to do that. 15 years later, continue with private equity. Or one day, I'd love to just be in a leadership role of a smaller company. Maybe not necessarily being a CFO, but with a finance background, that might make sense. And I would just love to be able to use those skills that I've gained and apply that to a smaller company and be more involved. Through this up here, 40 years later,
be successful enough to retire in my 60s, serve a senior couple mission, and play golf and tennis all day with my wife. Would be great. I am an avid country club person. I would love that. Lessons learned. So this is obviously the most important part. I had a great mentor. He has done so many different things. He jumped from private equity to asset management, did investment banking, he did consulting at Bain. He literally touched like every different direction I could think of in finance that interested me, and he gave me some awesome feedback. So this is personally to my resume, but it applies to everybody. He said, my resume was lacking in leadership and examples of ways that I stand out. And really showing like in your detailed explanations or bullet points of what you do, be like descriptive in how you're a leader. Show how those roles have been played out in your experience. My elevator pitch, he really just talked about being genuine. He said the first few minutes in an interview are crucial to your success, and I know we've all seen that. First impressions are everything. And I know that was one of the first things on the handout that Tina gave us. And then really sell yourself. Let them know why. Don't just talk about how you're interested in the company, but really sell yourself and why you want to be there and why they should want you. And then really these are my key takeaways. So on top of those, grad school isn't for everyone. When I talked to my mentor, he really talked about like why he went to grad school. And he went to Harvard Business School, which is awesome. But he just talked about it's not for everybody, and you really need to weigh if it's the right thing to do or not, because it's definitely an investment. Never be closed to new opportunities. I think this was the most important one. Always be willing and ready to walk through any doors. I feel like every person I've talked to that's had a really successful career are the ones that they just walked through an opportunity not knowing where it would lead, and it turned out to be an incredible success. And so really just to do that, you got to be working hard today so that you can have a successful career in the future. And that is it.
Okay, so my name's Douglas Stanley, and first wanted to share with you about my mentor real quick, just so you can know where the advice is coming from. His name is Kurt Wickham. Incredible guy. He graduated in 1995 from BYU. He's a Mac student, so boo, but he's a pretty good guy. This is his 20th year doing investment banking, so he's somebody that was right up my alley. He started actually at Ernst & Young in their M&A advisory group for 2 years, and then went to Credit Suisse, started as an analyst, worked up to a VP in 6 years. RA Advisors, something else he did for another 6 years, and now W Partners, as in Wickham Partners. So he's doing really well. It's a boutique investment bank there in San Diego, California. Specialties, he's really big. He, all 20 years, has been very specialized in M&A. And so just an incredible guy, and somebody I really admire. So for me, I've landed an internship offer and really excited about it in Houston, Texas this summer with Credit Suisse in their investment banking division. And so some of my goals while I'm there is to specialize in the energy sector. Obviously, I'll be working with oil and gas, expand my network, develop some really strong valuation skills, and understand the energy sector just in general. And so advice that he gave me is, he said, though at times investment banking was a really tough thing to be doing, he said, I've never regretted doing it. And he's been doing it for 20 years. So, that was good advice for me to hear. One of the big reasons why I chose Credit Suisse is they're a strong pipeline into some of the best private equity shops in Texas. And that's something I really want to do the next part of my career. So my goal is to get recruited to a top private equity energy shop, understand the best practices of the profession. So hopefully I'll have experience at least in one, if not maybe two private equity shops, so I can understand the best ways to run one, the best way to invest, etc. And I want to understand how to build and invest a successful private equity shop of my own one day. And so mentor's advice, he said investment banking has unprecedented exit opportunities into PE. He said you couldn't pick the better one that'll get you into the PE route. And he said the valuation skills that you'll learn as an investment banker, as an analyst, will provide an incredible foundation for you to do PE. So after working for PE, I have a desire to start my own business. And as you can imagine, my top choice would be private equity shop. I'd love to own my own private equity shop. Energy is where I'd love to start since I'll be specialized in it. But eventually I'd love to branch out and learn a lot about each of the different industries. But energy definitely is the first. I want to grow it until I can sell it and accomplish my last few goals in life, which I'll get to. And so my mentor's advice was, he said, He says every one of us as students and as people in life, we have goals in mind, and they're absolutely essential. But he said, make sure that you're willing to walk whatever path Heavenly Father has for you. He said, whenever I was coming out of my undergrad, I didn't even know what investment banking was, and I've now been doing it for 20 years. And he said, so be willing to take the path that Heavenly Father has for you. And so I thought that was some very incredible advice that Kurt gave me there. One of my last ones is I want to own a professional sports team. And I'm really excited about that. So my goal, I want to sell off my private equity positions and buy a professional sports team. And I want my new office to become a stadium suite. And so that's my long-time goal, and I'm super pumped about that. My mentor, I loved his advice that he gave me. He said, good luck. So, yeah, I'll shoot for the moon there. My last one is I want to retire and I want to serve a mission with my beautiful wife. And, yeah, hopefully I can serve tons of missions. And, yeah, so that's my career plan.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I am Haley Clark, and I'm not Haley Clark. I'm Haley Tate. I got married 2 months ago. Keep forgetting that little fact. Anyway, so I'm Haley Tate, and so since I got married 2 months ago, this project was actually super beneficial for me because my life's kind of taken a couple different paths in the last couple months. So my personality and self-analysis, I'm an ESTJ, which basically means that if you know what a red personality is, like I'm like an 88% red. And I don't like to compete for my job. I don't want to compete for my job. I just like to feel secure in it. Anyway, this is about me. So my advice, Jessica Johnson was my advisor, my mentor, and she gave great advice. She's actually, when I was looking for a mentor, I wanted to specifically look for a woman so that I could kind of get some advice geared towards my direction for someone who has been in my shoes, except Jessica Johnson has never been married. So she gave me really good advice about following what she always wanted to do and following what she never thought would ever happen. And so she actually started out her career working as a sports broadcaster, and then she's careened into lots of different directions working for Cisco, and now she is a managing director for the RBL group. And I think some of the things I really liked that she said was that if you start working for a company and you don't feel like you are a good fit or vice versa, to just have the confidence to do what you want to do and to find something else and to leave. And then one of the things that I really appreciated was the first one, and it was to develop different career paths that you can bounce back and forth between. And so that's what she and I did together to figure out my career path, because I really don't know what I'm going to be doing. So if I'm a full-time employee in my life, then this will be my plan, and I just kind of want to move up progression. And I know that a lot of people move between companies these days, and so I kind of planned to do that just so that I can kind of go with the times. And then my husband really wants to start a company, so he can manage that part, and I'll manage the finances part, and it'll be a happy little family. And then part-time employee would be if I were to work for a couple of years and then take time off and to be a mom and then to go back. And I think, honestly, since I've gotten married, this is probably my favorite plan. But that's okay. So one thing that she was talking about a lot is that I am really struggling if I want to get an MBA or to not get an MBA, and honestly, I keep ruining the day that I changed my major and added more time onto college. But she really made a good point that education is, like, you need to be doing things that you love, and so you need to be educating yourself for the reasons that you want to be educated. And so she and I talked about it a lot, and I think I'm going to go get an MBA, and I don't know if I'm going to actually use it, and some of you will probably think that's really stupid. But I'm going to do it because I really want my children to know that education is important to me, and it's important enough that I feel like I want to take these measures to educate myself and then have the opportunity through those education paths that I've taken to then educate my children. So I think that was probably one of my favorite things of advice that she gave me, was to just have the bigger picture in mind when you're planning your careers and your lives.
actually, that's interesting that you had mentioned that, Haley. I want to share this because I think it's interesting for both men and women in the room for different reasons. I did get my MBA, and I did need to use it. I did put a husband through medical school. I worked a lot of years of my life, and I loved it because I love learning, I love working, I love contributing, and I've loved raising a family, and I love being able to stay home for a number of years, 15 years, almost full-time, to raise a family. But I do feel like I was a much better mother because of the education that I had. I feel like I was able to run the home a lot better. Talk about organizational behavior. You use that all the time at home. So I think education is great for men and women in whatever career aspirations they have, whether that be at home, in the workforce, or in the community. I can tell you this, your bishops, your stake presidents will really appreciate the education of their, of all of the people that serve. And when you've got men and women who have management degrees, they can just do so much great work for the kingdom. So anyway, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes. And now we have Kim. This is going to be fun.
How many of you know what Ash Wednesday is about? How about Fat Tuesday? What's Fat Tuesday?
See, in England we call it Shrove Tuesday, so I don't know what your American does. But it's basically when it's the day before Ash Wednesday, which is the start of Lent, and so we take all the stuff that is bad for us and we eat it after Lent.
Okay. So that's when Mardi Gras starts, is on Fat Tuesday. So you just go crazy for a little while. And Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent, I believe. And what you do is you go into the church and you put an ash cross on your forehead. And when I first came to Goldman Sachs and had my first Ash Wednesday, I was walking down the street and I saw the smudge on their forehead, so I pointed that out to them. So excuse me, you may not know this, but you have a smudge on your forehead. You might want to clear it off before you get to work. And I got some of the rudest looks for asking that question, so that's what this was about. This is an email from Justin Hales, who's currently working for Credit Suisse in New York. Do all of you know, anyone know Justin? Okay, he's a good guy. And he sent this email to me today. He goes, "Today is Ash Wednesday, and it reminded me of the story you told us of your experience on Ash Wednesday at Goldman. Good times. Hope all is well." Now, what do you think about this as a networking email? Speak up. Any comments? Raise your hand. I'd love to get your reactions. Please.
I think if the relationship's right, it's great. It reminds you who he is. Like, I don't know, I feel like I have a relationship with a couple of my professors that has gone a little bit beyond the classroom. And so a reminder to let them know that I'm there. And then that, like, it reminded me of things that they shared. Well, probably also I learned stuff in the classroom as well.
Great. Good comment. Others? Anything else? When would this be is this ever a bad idea? Do you have a comment? Please.
You were sensitive about the subject, you were super embarrassed, and you still are, then you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, if it was an embarrassing thing, then he shouldn't bring it up. But I think it's actually a really clever networking, because he's essentially sent me a one-line message that connected me and him up with a fun time we had together, a fun memory together. And he's a new analyst with Credit Suisse. He joined them last July. So it's just, and he was one of the leaders of the investment banking club, so it's just nice to stay connected with him in this way. I had another one today that I intended to bring, but it just arrived too late. A Goldman guy in our San Francisco office, in Goldman's San Francisco office, told me he visited a company in Boise, and he said, "This is a great company, well run." They said they know you, talk to you frequently, and they just wanted to say hello. So think of the email that the guy at Goldman did. He roped me in with the company. Why do you think he might want to rope me in with that company? Can you imagine any reasons? Well, the company that that the other person is referring to is a 500 employee company that's making a tremendous amount of money. It's probably about ready for a liquidity event. So it'd be a great time for an investment bank to stay close to a company, to work on their relationships, to work on their networking, so that if they do an IPO or if they do a piece of liquidity of some kind, that they get the first crack at it. Okay? Now, did all of you get a copy of this when you came in the door? Yes or no? Okay. Have you had a chance to look over it yet? Okay. Any comments? Anything you noticed particularly? Okay, I won't drag it out, but this is something that has been used at Goldman for about 10 years. An anonymous student wrote this, and it's a great way to be either as an intern or a full-time employee. It's essentially all is common sense, but very often people get very busy and they forget about common sense, and they become self-centered and so self-focused. So I'd encourage you to take this list and read it, just review it weekly for a while until it becomes part of you, and see how many violations of this you've made, how many opportunities you've missed. So just keep this as a standard. Anyone see anything that they particularly like? Okay, don't wait for anyone to replace the toner. That's huge. I mean, the ones on here that I really like are not, don't assume anything is beneath you. Don't assume any person is beneath you. When it comes time to replace the toner, do it. When it comes time to fill the printer, the copier up with new paper, do it. Don't assume anything along the way. But I think these are great, and I won't go through them because I'd like you, but if there's things on here you don't understand, or it's not clear to you what we're talking about, please come swing by and visit. But there are 101 things, and I think they're really great. Now, the next thing I want you to take a look at, this is a chart of 32 juniors that have juniors from finance and accounting. They have jobs, summer internships in investment banks. What I want you to do is just take a look at it and start at the left, look at the name, look at their major, look how many times they've visited other cities, how many super days they had participated in, how many offers they've received, which offer they accepted, which location they're part of, and what business unit they're part of. Now you may ask, why do we keep this? Can you think of any good reasons why I'd want to keep a chart like this with this kind of information? Please.
It shows people what type of work needs to be put in to get the same jobs that they want. I mean, just keeping track of, you have to put forth the effort in order to get the position. None of the people out there fail to put in any effort.
Okay. Yeah, this gives you a clear idea of how much effort is required to get the job, and none of the people in this grouping regret the amount of effort they put into it. And in addition, it helps me when I'm counseling students to say, why should you be worried about that? You're only halfway through. We started back in September, and you got an offer. Some people got an offer in October or November. Others are getting offers. The bottom two names on the list, they got their offers yesterday and the day before. So it gives you an idea of how long the recruiting season can be. And it's a great way. What I'm trying to do is operate. Do you know who Peter Thiel is in the tech area? He wrote a really interesting book called 0 to 1. I'd recommend you read this book. It's hot stuff over in Silicon Valley. It talks about it's easy to replicate people, but replicate a function, replicate a product, but it's hard to think one up in the first place. So that's why the name 0 to 1. And what we're trying to do is match that by keeping track of what people have to do in order to get jobs. Now, one thing we haven't talked about in here, I don't think, is talked about in the Investment Banking Club, but all of you who are interested, I'd like to invite you on a trip to New York City in April, just prior to the beginning of the spring term. We're going to take about 100 or more students back to New York, meet with about 40 or 45 companies. It's a great way to begin your career search, because there's people represented from almost every type of financial institution in the world. I'll give you some more information about it, but Jarrett, come talk about it just for a minute. Jarrett's the one that's at the bottom of the page, because if this works. His offer is the most recent.
So I just got an offer with, I don't know if this is
It's not working.
not working.
Just shout it out.
Okay, yeah, so I just got an offer with Morgan Stanley's Real Estate Investment Group, which is under their private equity arm. And we went on the New York trip back last semester, and I felt like I got involved in the whole investment banking, private equity. I felt like I got involved in that very late. And it was very overwhelming because we got involved, the finance, all the recruiting. And so I feel that this trip going to New York being moved forward to April is a really, really great thing, because it allows us, who we're not a target school, it allows us to be prepared right at the beginning of the fall and during the summer to start going out there, start meeting with people, really start trying to get your name out. And I would recommend that, I know that a lot of people here already have internships and might not be interested in investment banking. When I went out, I honestly wasn't really interested. I just wanted to see what it was. If you aren't sure, I would say go. It's an awesome trip just for the heck of it. And then I would recommend you guys telling all the people that you think would be promising candidates, or just people that you think would learn a lot, because the New York trip is an amazing experience, and you never know what will come from it.
Great, thank you very much, Jared. Okay, so what we're looking at here again is I'm collecting this kind of data so that I can advise next year's classes and the year after's classes. It's like a big data analysis project. We'll be looking at the same thing like with Apple and Intuit. What does it take to get a job? What's the preparation? How many times is it good to go? Networking trips, et cetera. What's the distribution of that? Sometimes people get offers very early, sometimes they get late, but how does that look as a distribution? So we're trying to, now I thought this might also be interesting. Of the numbers on the prior page, that tells you what the major is, and also what the company they're joining. And this is very valuable, because I'm going to explain a principle here, and it applies to everything in other areas that you're thinking about. My view is, despite this is 32, this is summer interns for this coming summer at all these companies. This is the best year that's ever happened for BYU in this category. Best year by far. It's been an uphill climb for the last 5 or 6 years. Okay, I can find more high-quality jobs than I can find students who are willing and capable of preparing themselves for the competition. So, for example, if I look down on this Credit Suisse list, I could make my target next year 40, my next year target after that 45, 50. But that's not just at these financial institutions, that's at other companies. So the thing that we're doing, Tina and I and other people in the career function, we're opening doors that you guys are not prepared to follow us in. And so I want to challenge you to get serious, more serious in many cases, for what you need to do, and the New York trip is a great way to kick that off. It'll be, I think, on Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, April 27th, 26th, 27th, 28th, right about in there. And what we'll do is we'll spend most of the day at a major private equity firm, and companies will come and present to us. We'll be in 2 or 3 or 4 conference rooms. So people will come and present to us about insurance companies, about various kinds of other financial institutions. Everything is finance related, and it's not just investment banking, it's not just asset management, it's not just sales and trading. It's a wide range, and if you haven't been to New York, it's a great place. I think you really enjoy it, and you get a feeling for what what employment could really be like, how interesting it could be. So let me stop here for a second. Any questions about this? Have you heard too much? Have you heard about this a lot already? What I'll do is I'll put together a little information sheet and send it out to you. We'll put it on Learning Suite, but we'll also send it out to you, along with the Goldman Sachs 101 Things. And then here is how you can reach us. Tina through the bridge, and me just at the front and back desks of the Business Career Center. Most of the day, my door is open. Students just come in and stop and talk. I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to make appointments. So just work it out with me. Any other questions about what we've talked about so far? Great. Well, thank you. That's the end of today and end of this class. So big hand.